This is what I shall call a progressive lesson, meaning the start of the lesson is easy to understand, maybe even review, but gradually it gets more and more difficult. Let's begin.
In Korean, there is a casual way to say things, and there's a polite way to say things. And sometimes there's also a formal way to say things. And yeah, that means that when you learn Korean, you have to learn 2 or sometimes 3 ways of saying the same thing. The casual way, the polite way, and the formal way. The casual way of speaking is used with close friends and people who are younger than you. The polite way of speaking is for strangers and people who are older than you, and people who are ranked higher than you. At work, for example, if your boss is younger than you still have to speak to him or her politely. The formal way of speaking, likewise, is used for strangers, people who are older than you, and people who are ranked higher than you. But moreover, it's the more common way of speaking when addressing a large group of people. And it's used in the military. You may also consider using it when addressing the elderly, just to show an extra level of respect. To surmise, I would say polite language is more appropriate for one-on-one interactions, and formal is more appropriate when speaking to a group or making a broadcast. Polite language and formal language can be used interchangeably. You can mix them into the same paragraph, and in fact, many words have only one version that is considered both polite and formal. However, you should not mix the casual language in with the polite and formal. That makes no sense. Either you have a respectful relationship with the person you're talking to, or you have a casual, friendly relationship with them. Your relationship should not change mid-speech. Another thing to note is that because of the way the 3 types of language are used, we get a situation in Korean conversations that we don't usually experience in English conversations. A situation where one person is speaking with formal language and the other person is speaking with casual language. Imagine an English conversation like that. For example, you would say politely and formally, "Hello, grandmother," and your grandmother would reply casually, "Sup, dog?" Even if you do by chance happen to have a grandmother who speaks like that, she would expect you to match her level of informality, so you would both be speaking casually. Or in a much more common situation, you would both be speaking formally. It is very rare that you have one person speaking formally and one person speaking casually in an English conversation, but this happens often in Korean.
These are the Korean pronouns. Usually with pronouns, there is only one form that is both polite and formal. When it comes to verbs and adjectives, you'll notice that the formal verbs usually end in "입니다." The polite verbs end in "yo," and the casual verbs look a lot like the polite verbs, but with the "yo" removed. So let's see a sentence in each form. 나는 읽어. 저는 읽어요. 저는 읽습니다. You will see me use this type of purple, blue, and dark blue color coding in all my videos. And these are the 3 types of language that I will teach in my videos. But just now, just for this lesson, I will teach you another type of sentence. It's actually a really useful one. In terms of how much respect it shows, it fits in right here. More respect than the casual version, and less respect than the polite version. And what it is the pronoun from the casual version combined with the verb from the polite version. This seemingly unholy hybrid is actually perfectly fine. I like the fact that if you start off your sentence without much respect and remember your manners partway through, you can halfway redeem yourself by adding yo to the end of the sentence. But my lessons on this channel focus on the 3 important ones. I call them casual, polite, and formal. But in Korean, they're called 해체 or bonmal, 헤어체 or 존댓말, and 합시오체 or 합십시오체. Another thing about respect in Korean is that there are completely different vocabulary words for the same action or noun depending on who the subject of your sentence is. Take for example rice. If a child is eating rice, it is called bop. But if an elderly person is eating rice, it is called jinji, because that's the more respectful way of saying rice. So you have two different words for the exact same thing, even though it's the exact same damn rice from the exact same damn pot. Two different words, depending on who is eating it and how much respect you want to show them. We sort of do this in English too. Like when poor people have mental health issues, they are called crazy. But when rich people have mental health issues, they are called delightfully eccentric. Or if you're a simple peasant, you sweat. If you're a fancy lady, you glisten. Here are some more examples in Korean. Home is jeep or 댁. Age is 나이 or 연세. Name can be 이름 or 성함 or 존함. And verbs too. The verb to eat could be 먹다 or 드시다. To exist is 있다 or 계시다. To sleep is 자다 or 주무시다. To die is 죽다 or 돌아가시다. Let's do a few example sentences so we get a sense of how to use this vocabulary. For example, the baby eats rice. The baby is the subject of the sentence. We don't need to use our fancy vocabulary for just a little baby, so we use bop for rice and 먹다 for eat. And we say 아기는 밥을 먹어 when we're talking casually to our friends or people younger than us. We say 아기는 밥을 먹어요 when we're talking politely to strangers or people older than us. And we say 아기는 밥을 먹습니다 when we're speaking formally to elderly people, large groups, or people to which we want to show an extra level of respect. Here's another example. Grandparents eat rice. Grandparents are elderly, so we must be respectful and use our fancy vocabulary when we're talking about them. We use jinji for rice and 드시다 for eat. So we say 저 부모님은 진지를 드셔 when we're speaking casually to our friends or people younger than us. 저 부모님은 진지를 드셔요 when we're speaking politely to strangers or people older than us. And 저 부모님은 진지를 드십니다 when we're speaking formally to elderly people, large groups, or anyone to which we want to show an extra level of respect. It's like saying the baby chows down on some grub, and the grandparents dine on cuisine. Do you see how it works? Use different vocabulary depending on who you are talking about, and use different verb conjugation depending on who you are talking to. For the vast majority of people, use the normal vocabulary. Only on the very rare occasion, when you really want to show a lot of respect, then should you use the fancy vocabulary. Here is another example. Little sister sleeps at home. 여동생은 집에서 자. 여동생은 집에서 자요. 여동생은 집에서 자습니다. The princess sleeps at home. 프린세스는 댁에서 주무셔. 프린세스는 댁에서 주무셔요. 프린세스는 댁에서 주무십니다. Little sister crashes at her pad. The princess retires to her estate. And why don't you try a few? How do you translate these sentences? Make sure you're using the correct conjugation and correct vocabulary. Rely on what you have learned in my previous videos. I have included hints if you need them, and you can check your answers in the comment section. Thanks for studying with me, everyone. 안녕히 계세요. Here's a little PS about the verb 계시다. It is the fancy version of 있다. It is translated as to exist. If you saw my ita video, you will know that ita means to exist or to have. But gyashida is not as versatile as ita. You can only use it as to exist, not to have. For example, you can say, Grandpa is at home, or Grandpa exists at home, because don't forget, that's how you say it in Korean. 할아버지는 댁에 계세요. But you cannot use gyashida to mean to have. For example, you can't say, Grandpa has a radio, or Grandpa has brown eyes, using the verb gyashida. For those sentences, you have to use ita. But if you've seen every video I've done prior to this one, my hope is that you followed along every step of the way. If not, don't sweat it. I expect that you understood at least some of this lesson. You may need to review some of my other videos before you get it completely. The comment section is open for questions, it always is. And as I said a moment ago, my fellow students, 안녕히 계세요. Thank you for studying with me.